Item number 3, statement by ministers. Number 3.1, on the laying of the host government agreement, tariff and transportation agreement, and the shareholders agreement for the East African crude oil pipeline.
The agreements for the East African crude oil pipeline, abbreviated as EACOP, to lay 3 agreements before the House, namely the host government agreement, the tariff and transportation agreement, and shareholders agreement for the EACOP. Right Honourable Speaker, you will recall I presented a statement to the House on 14th April 2021 on the key agreements that were signed on 11th April 2021 at a ceremony that was graced by 2 heads of state, His Excellency the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. In the statement, I detailed the significance of the agreements in unlocking the award for engineering, procurement, and construction contracts for the project, which presents significant opportunities for Ugandans and Ugandan companies to provide goods and services for the construction of the EACOP. The agreements signed are aimed at facilitating the development of the East African crude oil pipeline. It is estimated that about $15 billion will be invested in the sector within 4 years. This investment is expected to have significant direct, indirect, and induced benefits on all sectors of the economy. In February 2014, government and the international oil companies entered into a memorandum of understanding regarding the commercialization of the discovered oil and gas resources. The commercialization options agreed in the said MOU included export of crude oil and refining. Right Honourable Speaker, you recall that in 2017, the Republic of Uganda and the United Republic of Tanzania entered into an intergovernmental agreement to facilitate the development of the EACOP project. This was subsequently followed by the negotiations of the host government agreement for the EACOP between the oil companies and the governments of Uganda and Tanzania in February 2018. Right Honourable Speaker, as mentioned earlier, the negotiations of the Uganda host government agreement was concluded on 8th September 2020 and subsequently initiated by government and Total East African Midstream BV on behalf of the project developers. The host government agreement was finally signed on 11th April 2021, following harmonization with the government of Tanzania on some physical terms. One of the key issues agreed with the project developers in the host government agreement is the need for the state to ensure that there is an enabling legislation to facilitate the implementation of the EACOP project in Uganda. This will be achieved by making amendments to some existing laws, as well as adding to the existing legislation to ensure the creation of a legal framework that will foster an environment for the lawful implementation of the EACOP project. The understanding to put in place the enabling legislation for the project was made by Uganda and Tanzania in the intergovernmental agreement and reaffirmed in the host government agreements of the 2 states. The drafting process of the bill has been concluded and it will be soon considered by Cabinet and consequently tabled for debate in this House. I wish to recognize the different MDAs that supported my ministry during the negotiations of the project agreements, namely Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Minister of Internal Affairs, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Bank of Uganda, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, National Environment Management Authority, Insurance Regulatory Authority, Uganda Revenue Authority, and Uganda National Oil Company. Key terms in the agreements. The host government agreement. The purpose of this agreement is to provide a legal framework and contractual obligations between Uganda as the host country and the ECOP company as the project company. The key aspects covered in the agreement include, but are not limited to: 1, commitment of each party to ensure the implementation of the project within the agreed timelines. 2, the tariff for the crude oil transported through the pipeline will be US $12.77 per barrel to be paid by the shippers, that is owners of the crude oil, and this includes Uganda. 3, protection of investments, including provisions concerning expropriation and nationalization. 4, granting of land rights and the necessary consents, permits, and authorizations. 5, freedom of transit and free movement of project personnel and goods associated with the project activities. 6, government's role in providing for safety and security of the project. 7, third-party access to the pipeline. 8, national content to ensure employment of Ugandans and supply of goods and services by Ugandans. 9, applicable environmental, health, and safety standards. And 10, cooperation to ensure facilitation of financing of the project. I wish to lay on table before the House a copy of the host government agreement for the ECOP project. The second agreement is the Tariff and Transportation Agreement, abbreviated as TTA. The ECOP company and the owners of the crude oil shippers, including the Uganda National Oil Company, which is a nominee of government of Uganda, entered into a tariff and transportation agreement. The TTA defines the framework under which oil would be transported, including the rights and responsibility of the shippers and the transporter, who is the ECOP company. The key aspects covered by this agreement include, but are not limited to: 1, responsibility for facilities details the obligation of the transporter to construct, install, test, commission, and operate the ECOP system, and also the obligations of the crude oil owners to ensure construction and operation of upstream facilities. Tariff payment details the obligation by the crude oil owners to pay the agreed tariff, and also the mechanism for invoicing and payment. 3, crude oil measurements, test, and analysis. 4, delivery and offtake rights and obligations. 5, quality and off-specific crude oil. Specifies the specifications expected at the entry of the pipeline and how to treat off-spec crude oil. 6, sanctions. Stipulates treatment of parties or any party that faces international sanctions that could hinder the operations of the project. And 7, compensation for crude oil lost during transportation. It was agreed that in the event of loss of crude oil in the ECOP system, beyond the allowable system operation losses, the transporter ECOP company shall compensate the government of Uganda. I wish to lay on table before the House a copy of the tariff and transportation agreement for the ECOP project. I beg to lay. Shareholders agreement. This agreement was signed between the ECOP company and the shareholders, who are National Pipeline Company, Uganda Limited, wholly owned subsidiary of CNOOC. So this is our company within the CNOOC. That is the Uganda National Oil Company. Tanzanian Petroleum Development Corporation, Total Holdings International, BV, China National Offshore Oil Company shareholder, abbreviated as CNOOC. The shareholders agreement describes how the ECOP company shall be operated and defines shareholders' rights and obligations. The shareholders agreement covers aspects such as the mechanism for approval and settlement of the historical financing arrangements, equity contribution mechanism, events of default and remedies, governing law and dispute resolution, among others. Right Honourable Speaker, I wish to inform you that this particular agreement was initiated by the CNOOC shareholder. Their signature awaits their internal. This particular agreement was it was initiated by CNOOC shareholder. Their signature awaits their internal approval process, even though in principle they are agreeable to the agreement. CNOOC will also determine their shareholding entity as part of their internal approval process. Right Honourable Speaker, the shareholding is as follows. Uganda National Oil Company, that is Government of Uganda shareholder, is 15%. Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation is either equal or less than 15%. 3, CNOOC shareholder is 8%. And 4, Total East Africa Midstream BV is 62%. I wish to inform you that Government of Tanzania, represented by TPDC, has a right to reduce its 15% shareholding downwards to a minimum of 5% within 30 days after signature date of the shareholders' agreement. If TPDC elects such reduction, then 1, CNOOC will have the first right to take up any percentage so released, and 2, thereafter, Total will take up any remaining percentage such that the overall shareholding totals 100%. Colleagues, the shareholders' agreement provides for the terms and conditions under which the shareholders will invest in the ECOP company, including, but not limited to the following. A, the manner in which the equity contributions will be made by the shareholders to ensure successful completion of construction of the ECOP system. B, the level of participation of each shareholder, with CNOOC taking a 15% take through its wholly owned subsidiary, the National Pipeline Company, Uganda Limited. C, a mechanism through which the project development costs, that's the historic costs, borne by the shareholders prior to the incorporation of the ECOP company shall be reimbursed to such shareholders by the company. D, how the ECOP project will be financed. The agreed projection is a 60 to 40 ratio debt to equity, a 60-40 debt to equity ratio. ECOP company has kicked off the process of sourcing for project financing. Colleagues, it is important to note that prior to drawdown on any project financing, the shareholders will be investing the equity proportional to their respective shareholding. E, a mechanism through which shares may be transferred among shareholders and from shareholders to third party. F, the governance mechanism for management of the ECOP company's affairs, including board and shareholder decisions. G, composition, appointment and removal of the board of directors and senior management of the project company. And H, tax treatment of payments due to shareholders from the project company. I wish to lay on table before the House a copy of the shareholders' agreement for the ECOP project. I beg to lay.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for her presentation. Although she has loaded almost all the agreements within a few minutes, but we have nothing to do because time is not friendly to us. Madam Speaker, these are very important agreements, and I want to thank my party, NRM, that we have come in history of Uganda for having started and discovered the oil, and now we are going to harvest money for the economic development that we believe will transform our country. Madam Speaker, oil is always called a black gold, but wherever it has been or wherever it is, many times there is too much peace or there is no peace. Madam Minister, you have a big role to play because you are in the ministry that Uganda is looking at the ministry that will make Uganda move into a super income. These agreements, Madam Speaker, my contribution to them, first of all, is a host agreement between Uganda and the people. Madam Speaker, I need clarification from the Minister because we have seen many civil society organizations giving complaints that people have not been given their land rights and their rights to participate in the areas where the oil pipelines are going to pass. Therefore, we want to know, or I want to know the government plan of how those people who are still in those places and have refused to be evicted will be handled peacefully without abusing the rights of the people in those areas. At the same time, Madam Speaker, I have not heard anything concerning the corporate social responsibility and the royalties where this oil comes from, although it is a national wealth. But I believe those people have nature benefit as people who are living in an area where oil was discovered. At the same time, Madam Speaker, although the Minister said there is a confidential clause that we should protect, but I believe the issue of national content in the area of provision of raw materials and employment has not been featured clearly in the agreements to the benefit of our people. Because when it doesn't come out clearly, we shall end up having Chinese welders. Yesterday, I was with a friend who was telling me that as soon as you enter Munyonyo Resort, you will see an Indian working as a watchman. Why? Because the laws are not so clear. Hospitality. Madam Speaker, as I finish, the tariff and transport agreement. The tariff and the transport agreement, I need the Minister to give more clarity concerning the area of Bubu. Concerning the area of Bubu, because we are having challenges even per now, whereby Ugandan transporters are not allowed to take their vehicles in Kenya, but Kenyan heavy vehicles can come to Uganda and carry goods at any part of the country and take their country. But this is going to be permanent income that I believe it should feature openly, and the Uganda National Oil Company should put this as a priority, that our people are trained to be drivers and companies should be arranged and tendered out to make sure that they are also participating into the delivery of goods within our country. Then, Madam Speaker, as I finish, the Uganda National Oil Company, which has shares of 15%, I see that these shares are very few. These shares are very, very few, although we are using Tanzania as a soil to take or to build our pipeline. The TPDC cannot have the same shares with us. This oil belongs to us, and this oil is also for Uganda. I believe the negotiators did not negotiate very, very well, because although Total and Econ are financing, why do we give Total 52%? 52%, I believe, is a big percentage, because this is an agreement which is not going to last for 5 years. This is a permanent agreement, and sometimes there are challenges in evaluation. So I believe something should be done in the area of percentage of the oil, so that Uganda will also have a big stake. Then lastly, Madam Speaker, right now we are having a problem with Uganda Aviation Authority. The planes, the bombardiers that we brought and praised, they are parked in Entebbe because there is a problem of management and governance. So we really need to know how the Uganda National Oil Company will be managed well, and who are these people. The fact that Parliament should have a very big stake.
Point of procedure. I have heard carefully, the Minister has suggested that there are some confidentiality clauses in this agreement, and to me it appears that it means that even Parliament will have to proceed on this matter cautiously. Madam Speaker, we have had so many bad agreements negotiated by this country, and in the end, the blame comes back to Parliament. Recently, we have had the one of Omeme. Wouldn't it be procedurally right that, Madam Speaker, in your wisdom, you appoint a very special committee to look at the issues that members have raised, so that in case there is something missing, we can raise it when it's early enough rather than wait later when things have gone bad and then we are blamed.
Confidentiality clauses are not new. When the production sharing agreements were signed, they were also laid in Parliament in the same procedure. So these processes are already known. It is not really new to us. Now, I must also thank the colleagues who have raised these issues. Yes, it's good to raise and get to know, because this is a very important project to us as Ugandans, and everybody is very expectant to benefit. And that's why local content in these agreements has been emphasized. And for employment, we've ring-fenced 57% of the jobs for Ugandans. So skilling programs have been going on. We have a dedicated institution at Kigumba for people who can be trained. So for welders, we shall need 5,000 welders, right on the speaker. And I'm told as we speak, we have around 2,500 welders already trained. Now, this nature of industry also needs a lot of electrical engineers. And I think last time when you saw me passing out, I was launching a training for electrical engineers. I appealed because we don't have enough agreement. And he was talking of local transporters. Now, this agreement it touches crude oil going through the pipeline. It is not crude going through trucks. So it is when crude leaves Hoima up to when it reaches Tanga. So that is the agreement as it goes. And also secondly, I also wish to inform Parliament that this particular pipeline will take crude to Tanga, but Tanzania also has gas. So we shall also be importing their gas to support us in the iron smelting in the Kigezi area. So we are all going to benefit using this pipeline. There was a concern that the 15% for CNOOC is very low. Honorable colleagues, you know, it depends on the envelope which we have. I'm still, even the 15%, I'm still struggling to get it. But otherwise, if we had more money, you know, the more shares you have, the more profits you get. Now, the concern of Uganda National Oil Company in management of this business, and you are citing companies like Uganda Airlines. Right, Honorable Speaker, the board of the Uganda National Oil Company is appointed by His Excellency with approval of this Parliament. So you participated in the creation of this board. So those members passed through your vetting, and they are the people who have to oversee this company. But what you have also raised is something very important. And the issue of governance have been in some of the presentations where people are recommending that we go for e-governance, such that most of the things are done online, or you have e-systems. This will really eliminate most of these graft and these people, the corrupt mentalities. I remember I raised an issue of resignation of Madame Wapa Kabulo. I don't think I have the right shoes to answer that, but I'm told she resigned on her own. So I don't know, whatever, if you have other, whatever, maybe you can confide in me, but I'm not aware of any other. But as we speak now, we have another young lady, Proscovia Nabanja, who took up the management of that institution. And I think she's doing fine. The honorable colleague who has requested for a discussion, and I highly appreciate that. As Parliament, right, Honorable Speaker, we need a debate here such that members understand these issues very well, because you are the representatives of our people, and your eyes should be on the ground to ensure that Ugandans benefit. So I support this, and we have all this information, and we could also look for more. There is a lot of business which will be there, right from the logistics industry, including we are supposed to have 100 all the time, all the year round, greenhouses. So we need all of us to be on our toes to see that we are able to supply. So that people, if we don't supply, then they will say, okay, you don't have, let's go to Egypt and get this and we shall have no. So I totally agree that we take on this so that we can prepare our people and they are able to harvest this money and it remains in Uganda. But otherwise, I've been on Total's neck to see that most of the projects, most of the contracts are given priority to Ugandans. I beg to submit.
So I was like,